We're going to be talking about how to maximize your day. How do you maximize your day? Because if you don't know how to maximize a day, you cannot maximize a year, right? You know, this is the time of year. I don't know what kind of circles you move in terms of your faith and so forth, but we get a lot of prophetic people this time of year, like at the end of the year and the start of the year, and they basically start putting out these prophetic words. Some of them are general prophetic words, you know, that we hear lots of, and they're the same every single year. God's going to shake what can't be shaken and all that sort of stuff, right? You know, like there's those which are great, and then maybe there's some individual prophetic words that you've had around, you know, your life and what you're going to achieve. You know, one of the most recent prophetic words over my life, which I get quite a few of them because of the kind of circles that I move in, but there are some that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And this one came about 5 to 6 months ago from somebody I really trust. And all he said, he was preaching and he just turned to me without like kind of ditched the message. And he said, Wes, what you've been able to achieve in 10 years, God's going to do in 2. Now that's quite a generic word, except I actually knew an internal mechanism for that. Like I knew a metric, I knew a number that I had been able to achieve in 10 years. And it looks like God's going to go over and above and achieve it in 2. So they're all good. But here's the thing about, you know, the prophetic words and the feel good and the inspo that comes around this time of year. It's all pointless if you don't put your faith into action, right? You know, like if you go back to the story of the parable of the minas, where the master goes away and he gives a mina to his servants. The master says, trade until I come back. There's a bit that the servant had to do, right? It wasn't just that the master was going to go away and come back and bring a blessing. The servant had to go and, as the word says, do business till I return. So we've got a part to play in this. And that's the bit that I want to pick up on this morning's call or today's call. We've got a part to play. And there is absolutely no point washing yourself under a prophetic word 6 times before breakfast each morning to feel good if you then don't go and do the work in the day to maximize the day. It's got to be both, right? That we approach this. And so that's really what we're going to spend our time on. It's the individual controllable work that we need to start doing on a daily basis that will be doing our part, right? And the whole concept of a supernatural walk is that it's super and it's natural, right? Supernatural. And so like the way that I would express it is you won't get a lot of super if your natural is not in order. You've got to get your natural in order. That's our bit. And then the Lord applies the super on top. And so we're going to be talking here about how to get our natural in order. But we've obviously got to look at some scripture to do that. The kind of question that kind of gets me up in the morning, the kind of question that I chew over, the kind of question that I will deliberate on probably for the rest of my life is like this. How can one person just decide to get up really early in the morning, go exercise, you know, feed their body, feed their mind, you know, put in a massive amount of effort, like drive towards their goals, leave it all on the field, be present with the people that matter, you know, go to sleep with a good routine, eat good food. Like, how can one person be like that? And another person that's been given the same opportunities in the same marketplace in the same era, get up late, not look after themselves, procrastinate, and push everything off to tomorrow. How does that happen that you can have 2 people in the same country, for example, in the same marketplace, in the same era, with the same tools and the same opportunities? How is it that you can get completely different results? What makes one person tick one way and one person tick another? That's my life, trying to work out those differences so that I can bring the edge to you guys so that you win, right? And I think it comes down to a lot of things, but I think the one overarching concept or behavior that winners have is their urgency. I'm going to go to a lot more things. We're going to go really granular a little bit later. But first and foremost, I think winners have an urgency that other people don't. There is just an urgency to get through as much as you possibly can in the shortest amount of time. There is an urgency to achieve your assignment. There is an urgency to take the visions and dreams that you have and go and make them manifest in the world around you. There is an urgency to do it, right? And then for others, there's clearly not an urgency, which is why they don't produce the best results that they can. So, when we look at this concept of urgency, is it in the scripture? One of the things that I've been up against my whole Christian life is I have had people who I would say are complete non-performers tell me that I'm striving. That is a recurring theme in my life, right? And what they see as striving is an insane work ethic. That's what, but they don't actually know what striving is, right? Which is the problem, because Paul says, I strive towards the mark of my higher calling, right? If it's good enough for Paul, it's good enough for me, right? And we're going to have a bit of a look at his life and look at the urgency that he carried. But I've had a lot of people, and by the way, it's typically older people that would say this, which is just a point, not really a big point, just a point. It's generally the older people that look at me and say, oh, you work too hard, or you're pushing too hard, or you're doing it in your own strength and things like that. And of course, when I hear those, I'll go away and audit myself because I want to make sure that I'm not doing it without the Lord. But striving is not working hard. You're meant to work hard. Striving is doing it without the Lord, doing it in your own strength. Like, God, I'm just going to park you over here for a minute while I grind it out in my own strength. That's striving. Collaborating with the Lord and running at a ridiculous pace, that's collaboration, right? So that's what I would say to you. I'd say to you that there is an urgency that in the faith is missing. I'm not saying that nobody, I'm saying generally across the faith, there is an urgency and a work ethic and a tenacity and a grind and a push that is missing. Now, I'm talking to business people, so you guys get it, but I'm just talking about generally across the faith. So we're going to have a look at this concept of urgency and what does it look like. So I've got a couple of scriptures here. As I say them, the team will type them in the chat, and so you've got those references forever. And these are a little bit all over the place, but they will stitch up at the end, right? Let's have a look at John 9:4. Johnny boy, John 9:4 says this. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. So there's an urgency that basically says, this is not talking about night and day in the true sense of light and dark. It's talking about night and day in terms of like a spiritual concept. But I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. You could take that as I must work the assignment that God gave me whilst I can, right? There is an urgency in that scripture that basically says, I've got to do it now and I can't put it off till night, whether that's actual night or spiritual night, right? Whilst we push away this darkness, I've got to be doing what he's asking me to do now. And there's an urgency to that. Revelation 3:11. This is crazy. Revelation 3:11 says this. Behold, I'm coming quickly. Hurry. Hold fast what you have, that no one may take your crown. So the kingdom of God moves quickly. And he says at the end is going to come quickly, right? So if you, there is an urgency from heaven, right? The date's already been set. That's not going to change due to urgency. But what he's saying is we're speeding up as we get closer to it, right? We're not going to slip into a day of reckoning where it all just goes bad. Well, we will if not enough of us do anything about it. But, if we occupy until he comes, that day is set, and that, but he's going to, there is an urgency that is propelling us towards it. And what he's saying is, behold, I'm coming quickly. All right. Now let's have a look at Proverbs 1:32. Because being Proverbs, this will be a lot more palatable and practical for you. Proverbs 1:32 says this. For the turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. All right? The complacency of fools. What does that look like? That means, I'll make those calls tomorrow. I'll write that ad tomorrow. Well, I can't do that yet because I don't have X, Y, and Z. Right? The complacency of, I don't need to get up early. I can just get up later, right? There is a complacency that here says will destroy you. Okay, so the opposite, obviously, of complacency is an urgency that we need to be bringing to the table. The turning away of the simple will slay them, and the complacency of fools will destroy them. One of the greatest questions you could ask yourself is, where am I being complacent right now? Are you being complacent in your marketing, in your sales, in your recruitment, in your team, in your leadership, in your finances? Right? Break down all the areas of the business and ask yourself the question, where am I being complacent? Because what this says is that is going to destroy you. Maybe it doesn't destroy your business and you go broke. Maybe it destroys you achieving your potential and building a great business because you're not doing the work that is required to get there. What about this one? Matthew 24:42. There's this. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your Lord is coming. But know this, that if the master of the house had known what hour the thief would come, he would have watched and not allowed his house to be broken into. Therefore, you also should be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour you do not expect. A little bit like Revelation. Same. That should haunt you to a degree, that you do not know the hour that the Lord is coming. And so you should be super diligent, super prepared, and have a level of urgency around that. You know, it's using the story of a thief breaking in. If you knew that there was a thief coming to break in, you would have an urgency to be prepared tonight. You'd have the doors locked. You'd have the things ready. You'd be awake. You'd be alert. You'd prep yourself because you knew they were coming. It's no different to our macro spiritual journey. We need to be ready because we don't know. So we need to be prepared. We need to be bringing it all. We need to have the same level of urgency that you would have to protect your house, to protect your potential, to protect your assignment, to protect your business. The two go hand in hand. And so there is an urgency that if we can grasp what this is, will set us up to have the very best 2022. It is an urgency that you've got to bring to your day, your week, your month, and your year to make this best. Have a little, as I study the Apostle Paul, I've done a bit of a timestamp on his journey, and it goes a little bit like this. So he was born in AD 6, right? And then he was born again in AD 33, right? So approximately 27 years of age, he has his road to Damascus moment and so forth. So from AD 33 to AD 36, he goes away and learns and studies. And if you remember from scripture, he comes back and makes what would seem an obnoxious statement. He says, I went and studied under the super apostles, which was a bit of a dig, and they added nothing to my message, which I think is, which basically for him was not, we would read it as arrogance, but for him it was like, no, I caught actual revelation from God directly and not from man. Which is amazing, right? And then from 33, so this is AD, not his age, right? You can basically take 6 off all this. From AD 36 to 44, he went teaching in Tarsus, where he was from. From 44 to 46, he went teaching in Antioch, which is, when you think about that was the center of the business universe. That was the center of the marketplace. So he had some training ground in his hometown before he went out to the real marketplace. During the year of AD 46, he was in Jerusalem. From AD 47 to 48, he went on his first mission trip to Cyprus. In 49, he battled with the Jews and got the law changed between the Gentiles. From 49 to 52, on his second mission trip through Asia. From 52 to 55, he basically spent time as Ephesus and wrote letters. From 55 to 57, he traveled through Greece. From 57 to 64, was when he was arrested, wrote most of his letters, and that's when he actually outlived his assignment, which was to take the gospel all the way to Rome, and in about AD 64 he was martyred. So not a lot of room. Like I didn't read about too many like down years. I didn't read about too many vacays, hashtag good vibes only. What I read about was a guy that was absolutely sold out with a level of urgency, and he did not stop. And I wonder if we could model ourselves on Paul in terms of the intensity that he brought to his assignment. Now, his is obviously different to ours, right? Ours is an assignment in the marketplace to, get rid of Babylon, to change culture, to bring God's way of trading to be the way that we should trade, so that everybody wins, so that we don't screw people over, so that, so that we can look after the widow, the orphan, the poor, all of those things. We know those things. Imagine if you had the same level of intensity in building out your business to achieve that outcome as Paul did to achieve his, of ultimately bringing it into the Roman Empire. Relentless should be your new best friend, should be the word that you bring to the table. All right, so how do we do that is the question. I say all of that as my intro to basically lay a foundation of why, and now we should get into how. By the way, there's a lot of you guys who don't have your screen on, which I understand. Maybe you had too many mince pies over Christmas and you don't feel as pretty as you did in December, but I'm not here to judge you. So let's turn those cameras on. Let me engage with you. It would be the same as me not having my camera on and you just listening to me. It would be nowhere near as good as being able to look at me. There we go. I can see Rayleigh. I can see Clayton. The rest of you guys, it's a simple switch. You turn your camera on, I can see you. There we go. Got Stefan. Pumba, good to see you. Come on. I think some of you are going to, there we go. Neville. My day just got a whole lot better because you guys turned your cameras on. There's Obed in the UK, freezing cold. Gideon, that's my man. Look at him. There he goes. John, we can see a little bit of John. Awesome. Thank you. That just makes it better for me because now I'm looking at a screen, 4 screens here. I'm looking at a screen where I can actually see you and engage with you. And you're a mighty fine looking group of kingdom entrepreneurs. All right. So when it comes to like that foundation, then I guess, how do we tackle it? Because here's the thing. I could literally now give you, a couple of little assets that you could have, like here's a sheet and fill it out every morning at 7 type thing, right? And then you would take those and you would use them and you would use them for about 2.4 days. And then that would be the end of that journey. Because you can't actually fix this with tactics. You have to fix it with behavior. And once you fix this with behavior, then all of the tactics make sense. This is what I've learned, in my role as coach since I started my practice in 2007. Unless we actually address the internal behavior, all of the strategies, the tactics, the aids, the tools, the sheets, they don't create any lasting change. It's got to start in here and then it'll change out here. Okay. So I want to address some of these things. Like, I'm not going to be like, right, how do you boost your productivity? Turn your notifications off Facebook, which is a good idea. You could possibly do that. And maybe that's just a freebie that I'll throw out there. But it's such a small little tactic that it won't change your life, right? It will improve your life. But I want to address the behavior issues before I get to tactics and strategies, because that's what creates lasting, permanent change that'll set you up over time. So I've got 8 things I'm going to run through. Some of them are literally going to be 2 minutes and some of them are longer, and they're in no particular order. So just stay with me, lean in, and take a heap of notes. Number 1, one of the rules that I think you should live by, no matter how you run your calendar, I don't know how you run your calendar, whether you do a physical calendar on paper or a digital one or on your phone or on your laptop, whatever you do. I believe in a rule of no white space. No white space in your diary. There should be absolutely no time that is not accounted for. So just to kind of preface that by saying, I'm not saying that you can't have time with no agenda. Well, I am. I'm saying you can't have time with no agenda, but you can have time without structure. So if you want to have the flexibility to say, well, I need to be flexible between 9 and 2, great. that's a block of time that is my flexible time. But you don't just leave it as white space with no plan for it. So you have in your diary, you've got time for meetings with the team, for sales calls, for calling back, for doing quotes, following up quotes, writing copy, making ads, reviewing. You've got time for all of those things. But you also need to have time for the unknown, right? Serving customers or whatever it is that you need to be doing. But what I'm saying is you need to make time for the unknown. And it's a time slot in your diary for the unknown. And then, of course, if you get things that crop up that you need to deal with, you do them in that time. And if it takes shorter than that time, then you shorten that time and move on to something else. But the trap of what most people do is they're like, oh, I've got a meeting from 8 to 9, and then I've got a meeting from 11 to 11:15. I've got a meeting at 3 o'clock. Right, so you've done 3 things today? No, you want to fill your diary from when you wake up to, possibly when you down tools for the day, whatever that is, dinner time with the kids, later, whatever, however that works for you. But you need to have a structure that has all of that time booked out. And some of it is to actual tasks that repeat through the week. Some of it's to one-off tasks. Some of it's to unknown, but that unknown needs a block of time, because you need to get into the habit that every single minute of your day is accountable to moving the needle on the business. And when you only block a few things into your day, you're basically saying that the rest of the day is free. Well, let me tell you, when the rest of the day is free, the vast majority of that time will get wasted. Okay? So you need to have 0 white space in your diary where there is time booked for everything. And basically, you should be running 4 to 5 days ahead of time, so that when opportunities and things are coming at you, you start to slot them in. You can do them today if you want to, but I'm just saying, like, looking forward in your diary, you're backfilling tasks into your diary so that there is, you're basically filling up all of the time slots in your diary so that you maximize the day, right? Because if you don't maximize the day, you cannot maximize the year. The way that you maximize a year is to maximize a day and string lots of them together. You've got to be able to maximize the day. And one of the ways you do that is no white space. Fill up all of the time from when you get up to when you down tools with tasks. Some of it could be going to the gym. Some of it could be driving to the gym, driving back from the gym, reading your journal, praying, like those things. Slot them in so that there is no white space. The second thing you need to do if you want to maximize this year and increase your personal productivity is you need to get far more hungry to chase down your visions and your dreams. So this is an intangible, but it's one of the things that separates the good from the great. It's one thing that separates the people that meander through life and achieve average results and those that go for everything is hunger. Once you've got a dream, you should be absolutely obsessed with it, that it keeps you awake all day, all night, and you can't rest until you've achieved it, right? Like, it just hassles you. You need, once you know what, our own language is what your assignment is, but I understand that not everybody uses that kind of wording, but whatever your assignment is, whatever your potential is, whatever the work that the Lord's got for you, whatever the dreams He's put inside of your heart, you need to become so hungry for those that it compels you to chase them down, which means those visions need to be tangible, right? So whatever it is that you've got as a dream, now remember, God gave you an imagination for a reason. An imagination is part of our makeup so that we can start to role play a better future. Well, that's one of the reasons. We can start to role play what our life's going to look like, and He can start to drop dreams and visions in our mind, knowing that they're going to come at some point in the future, and our imagination runs wild around it so that we can start to get handles on it so that we know what we've got to do today to get to our vision in the future, right? But you need to become so hungry and so passionate and so obsessed with those outcomes, with those dreams, with those visions, that they compel you. Listen, only 20% of your life is going to be exciting and pumped, right? The other 80% is going to be grind and letdown and hard work and doing the things you don't like, which is why you need a compelling enough vision and an excitement around it to draw you through those days. All right. Because here's the thing, when you don't have a compelling vision and life gets a little bit difficult, the trade-off is not there. Well, why would I bother? Why would I push through this when the payoff is, I don't know? Whereas when you're absolutely convinced this is what I'm chasing down, this is what it's going to look like, this is how life's going to be, when you've spent enough time dreaming, thinking, exploring that, then when the tough stuff comes, you just bash it down because the trade-off is easy. I'll live with this short-term pain knowing that that's what I'm getting in the end, right? But you've got to develop an absolute hunger around your dreams, around your visions, around your assignments, around life itself when you start to hit your potential. Okay? Once you can see it, then you can be it, right? But you've got to develop that hunger. How do you do that? You block time out in your diary. One of your slots in your diary is thinking time, dreaming time. It's okay to do that. That's not fluffy, right? You just got to go and spend time going, okay, well, what is my potential, Lord? And then when he shows you a picture or gives you a word or whatever, you start to think, what does that look like? And what will it look like if we have a team of 100? And what will our office be like when we have a team of 100? And what kind of culture do I want in my office? And what's going to be our annual business trip? Or how are we going to do an all hands meeting in Hamilton Island when we have a team of 100? And you chew on it and you chew on it and you chew on it. And you start to get such a crystal clear picture of what it is. Like when you get up every morning and your feet touch the ground, you can't help but chase it down, because that's what you want in life. All right. Number 3, if we want to kind of change the behavior right here around maximizing the year, you need to write your goals down every day. You need to write your goals down every day. However you do that. For me, it's in a physical book. I've got, I don't know how many of these. I think that I would have at least 400 journals since starting in business like this. They're all different. Some are small, some are big, some are leather, some are hard, some are soft, whatever. I've got about 400 of these, which is just my life played out with notes, reminders, journaling, Bible learning, thoughts. But one of the things that I do every single day is I write down my goals. Now, this is not robotic. Well, I guess it could be a little bit robotic, but it's for a purpose. We're not writing down goals for the sake of writing down goals. We're writing down goals to hold in front of us the reason why we're doing what we're doing. That's one reason. The second reason is every single day that you write down your goals, it forces you to have new thoughts, new strategies, new tactics on how to achieve it. Right? When you start writing down the same, you can use different words. It's not about this is not like detention where you have to write it the same way 300 times and do lines. You're essentially, in essence, writing down the same goal every single day, but each day you do it in a different setting. That creativity of doing it in different settings at different times, with more sleep and less sleep, and those changes force you to think of different angles to achieve it, different ways, different thoughts, different ways that it could play out, right? And, I'll give an example. I had a goal that I was writing down from October to December, and it was a specific goal around finding one more property deal before Christmas, right? And I had literally didn't really know how I was going to achieve it because I had a lot of other projects on, but I just wrote it down every day. And then I'd have this thought, maybe I'll call that person, or maybe I'll go here. And then before we know it, I was able to go, okay, I'm going to go to this town, and we chartered a plane and we flew out and we went and had a look at some and we got boots on the ground. And all these thoughts as October and then bang, we managed to achieve it, right? But it would have been so easy to go, well, that's a goal, and I don't quite know how we're going to get there with everything else we got going on, and so I'll punt that to next year. It would have been super easy to do that. No, I wrote it down every day. And by doing it every day, I was like, hang on a minute, I could do this little thing towards it today. This is a different way to approach it. I could get some help from this person to achieve that. But by writing it down every single day, it forces you to have new thoughts, new ideas, new strategies on how to achieve it. It is a phenomenal discipline to take your goals and put them into a shorter period of time, so that naturally what you would achieve in 6 months, you do in 4 months. What you were going to do in 12 months, you do in 3 months. It could be that good, right? It's about taking what you're going to do and condensing it into the shortest possible time. Of course, that's what maximizing this year is going to be. All right. So write your goals down every day. Number 4. Is, remember, we're tackling behavior. Number 4 is you actually need to have rest. Rest is a gift, and it needs to be treated that way. So I don't mean rest as in just cruise, like cruising's for losers, right? When I say rest, I mean intentional rest. Right? Now, call it a Sabbath if you wish. The Sabbath as a concept is absolutely beautiful. Now, it doesn't have to be a religious Sabbath, right? But the concept of a Sabbath is absolutely fantastic. And I still remember, a period of time when Kimberly and I and the girls decided that we would almost do the actual Sabbath in a ritual sense, but not for the purpose of ritual, for the purpose of relationship. So we went for like 9 months where we would do like no technology between sundown and sundown. We would light 3 candles with the representation. We would cook a meal, and obviously not look at phones and not look at things. And one in 3 of those weeks, we would bring another family over so we could have fellowship, and the rest of the time was just family. It's phenomenal to get that dichotomy between a mad, crazy week, right, with tons of activity and thousands of people, and just good sleep, good food, good family. And it's absolutely wonderful. And so today, my life is ridiculously hectic and then ridiculously not, right? And I take that weekend and I'm done. Like phone in the cupboard. When we go away on vacation, phone in the cupboard. I don't want to know, because I need to get those extremes. I need to get the complete downtime so that I can go completely all in the other 90% of the time, all right? And I would say to you that good sleep, good food, spending time with the people that matter will actually make your other time far more productive, right? You want those 2 extremes, but when you're passive in your work, you're usually passive in your personal journey. You're not really like all in with your spouse. You're not really all in with your kids engaged, right? But when you just choose to live a life all in, you're all in with your kids playing a game they want to play. You're all in, with the people that matter. But then when it comes to work, you're all in at work, all right? And doing what you need to do. And so I have found that one of the greatest ways to be all in at work is to be all in my rest, like cut off from all distractions and the outside world. And I'm just looking after me, and I'm kind of decompressing, and then I'm going to go again. And then I'm going to take a Sunday and I'm going to completely decompress, and then I'm going to go again. That's what I do. And I do that. So Kimberly and I go away for a long weekend every quarter, decompress, and then go again. I need that time where we, go and explore some new part of Australia, and then because then when I come back, I can give 100% back to work. All right. So I would say to you that it cannot be, like I hear all these people, especially the Americans, they love all this. Like, I'm on my grind. I'm on my grind 2, 4, 7, 3, 6, 5. It's like, cool. Well, that's going to end up in tears. Now I'm all for grind, as you've probably worked out, but it can't be 2, 4, 7, 3, 6, 5. There's got to be an intense period of time where there's absolutely no grind. And for me, that frees me up to be far more intentional when I get back to work. All right, number 5. If you want to be productive, you need to have what we call a cone of silence. This is specific for those of you who have teams, right? Because what happens when you have a team is they ask you lots of questions. And those questions just keep coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. Now, that's good. You're meant to do that. They're meant to be able to access you. You need to be able to train them and get the transfer of knowledge. That's a good idea. Except if you're always available, you'll get nothing strategic done because you're answering questions. Okay? So you need to set up, call it whatever you like, but basically you put on this cone of silence, you go into the cone of silence and you just work. And it's you probably working on the business, not in the business, but you need to be able to find the structure, the place, the time for you to be able to get yourself in that mode where you can do the work that you haven't got to, right? Build the brand, produce the content, right? write the ads to employ people, like the working on the business that you need to do because it falls to you to scale it. If you're not getting to that, then you've got to say, no, I need to create a system and a structure for me to be able to get it. So in our office, we have a simple system. If the door's open, you can come in. If it's not, I don't want to talk to you. Right? I don't want to talk to you. Like it's that clear. Door's open most of the time, but when it's not open and it's shut, I don't want to hear it. I'm intentional about doing the things that I need to be doing right now to grow the business. Right? So I'm out. Physically not here. Now I don't leave. I don't go elsewhere. That's why we have an office, so we can be at the office. But I jealously guard that time to say you can't come in here. Like I don't want to know. Like, you know, if the office is burning down, just send me a Slack message and I'll leave out the back window. I don't want to know. So, and it's in that intense, you know, difference that I'm able to do everything I need to be able to do. I've got my time to be able to work on the business, and outside of that, come and talk to me. I want to help you get the work done, right? So you need to be able to find that. Now, if you've got team that don't let you have that time, if you say to your team, I'm going into my cone of silence, and they bother you anyway, or they just walk in, you've then got to say to them that's not what this is. And basically ask your team to jealously guard that time for you, enroll them, enlist them, and have them catch the reason why it's important. And then they will police it so that you don't have to, right? But and of course, as soon as you let one person in, then everybody thinks they can, and now you've eroded it. And if you're somewhat needy or you want to be needed, then you're going to always want to be there for them. But you won't be your best if you do that. You've got to be able to create that cone of silence and say, I am working on my business. All right, number 6, 7-minute meeting blocks. 7-minute meeting blocks. You know, it's pretty funny the way some people operate, and you know what? It's only because they haven't heard about it or haven't thought about it. We do this standard thing in business where we kind of make our mind up. Is that a half an hour meeting or an hour? That's like why? What about if you just decided that all meetings in your business worked in 7-minute blocks, and then you worked out how many blocks you were giving to this meeting? Is this a 1-block meeting that I'm having? Good, it's 7 minutes. Is it a 2-block meeting? Great, this meeting's 14 minutes. Or is it a long meeting and it's 3 blocks and it's 21 minutes? You know the amount of meetings that go for an hour that could be 21 minutes? And then they had 39 minutes of how's the footy? How'd the Buffalo Bills go on the weekend? Whatever. So have you seen the latest TikTok? That's what fills up most of those meetings. You know, and I guess you can't maximize your year if you don't maximize the hour. And if you let all these meetings run over, then you're not maximizing the hour. And so what if you had team meetings that ran in 7-minute blocks? So your management meeting that you run that normally runs for an hour and a half because everyone drinks 3 coffees because it's better than doing real work. What if you made those 28-minute meetings with an agenda, structured? Now, of course, there's room for it to blow out, but it's about approaching those meetings with a structure and with a frame of reference. And if you said, hey, let's book one 7-minute meeting on that with one of your team, I can guarantee you that meeting would be done stood up and not sit down, which means it would just move quickly. So it's super practical, and it forces everybody to think, wow, I need to go into this meeting a lot more prepared and a lot more hustle in it because I've got 7 minutes. Now think about it, right? If you do 1-hour meeting blocks and you've got 4 staff and you want to build a business to 400 staff and everybody's doing 1-hour meetings because that's the culture, think about how much productivity gets lost in a year, right? If you start to have short accounts and have 7-minute meeting blocks, everybody else will then do the same thing down the organization as you scale. You will be so efficient and so nimble that you'll be far better off. That's how you maximize the year. All right. Number 7, you should only do profit-producing tasks. Now, this one's a little bit contentious because if you're a one-person operator, you kind of have to do it all. But what you need to get inside of your head is that your job is to fill up your day with the profit-producing tasks only. And now let me kind of phrase that, because I know a lot of you guys will be like, well, everything I do is profit-producing. No. There would be 2 and maybe 3 activities you do that actually produce profit and move the needle. And all the rest of the stuff is supplementary supporting tasks to achieve those 3 things. At the start of the journey, you do all of them, but you need to really quickly jump to only doing profit-producing tasks. That means that you've either got to say no to a whole bunch of stuff, literally just put a line through some, like if you were to grab your to-do list, you should literally put a line through half of it and just go, I'm not doing it, right? And you just work on the half that is going to produce a profit for you. One way is just to get rid of half the stuff you said yes to. Another thing is you've got to get some team, whether that's a virtual assistant, whether that's one of your kids, whether that's a kid from church to come and work a few hours casually, whether that's, a part-timer, full-timer, whatever it is, right? You've got to have people around you, because when you're on your own, you only actually have 24 hours in a day, which is the biggest tragedy. See, the thing about being a business owner is there's actually an unlimited amount of hours in a day. There's not 24 hours in a day when you're an entrepreneur. There's an unlimited amount of hours in a day if you employ enough people. But when you're on your own, you've only got those 24 hours, which is the main reason why they fail, those early stage businesses, because they haven't got the scale and the leverage and the multiplication of having more people. So basically, you need to start thinking about this. Now, if you don't have the money, that's the reason why you need to do it. So you've got to find the money, right? Now, if that means working at night and stacking shelves or selling something in the garage that you don't need, or doing a little sideline business, doing something you don't enjoy, whatever, to get some money, to be able to employ some people. Because you can't scale a business by doing all of the little tasks. You can only scale the business, even if you're at 1 person and you want to scale to 2, you're going to have to get your head in. I'm going to do the top half of the product producing tasks, and somebody else is going to do the bottom half, and I'll find a way to get that done. But you can't do it all. And so the longer you're in business and the more and more you scale, the list of profit-producing tasks may change as well, and so will where your attention goes. Like if I think back to when I first started business coaching in 2007, if somebody messaged me and said, hey, I'll give you, how much to get 1 session with you, I would have said any amount of money, because that's what moved the needle back then to produce a profit. Is I just needed that 1 client because I just started. Fast forward to today, I get 2 requests a day. Can I do some, how much for 1 hour with you? And I don't do them. Why? It's not the highest value task for me anymore to do that, right? Obviously, we have our clients and we have them in groups, and I'm coaching 200 clients at any one time. But when somebody comes out of the woodwork and says, I just want 1 transaction with you, I'm like, I would even say not really at any money would I do that. Because if I give them that 1 hour, it doesn't move the needle on the profit. But if I work out how to take my brand into a new country, that's going to move the needle on the profit. So that's not how it started. It started with, I would have taken anything of anybody. But as your business grows, the profit producing tasks shift. That's where you need to spend your time. So it doesn't matter where you are on that journey, whether you've literally just started and you'll take anything, you still can't do all of it. Right? And so you need to get really, really good at only doing the profit producing tasks. And one of the greatest things you could do as soon as this call finishes is work out what are the 2 or maybe 3 profit producing tasks that you should put your hand to, and how to get rid of everything else. All right, then, so you win. All right, and the 8th thing, this one's a little bit out of left field. And remember, I've stayed away from real brass tactics, because I'm trying to address the behavior, the decision inside of you to want to live this way, and then all the tactics will make sense. But the 8th one is, if we're going to attack behavior and we're going to work out how to maximize our day, it's going to come down to your ability to look after your body and exercise. Now, I know that's not a tactic of how do you get more done in a day, but it attacks the behavior and the mentality around how to get more out of a day. You need to find time in your day to exercise. Now, here's what's ironic. Like, you can do an awful lot of exercise in 30 minutes. And I don't know whether you've worked it out yet, but 30 minutes is 2% of your day. 2%. Like, that's a bit of an uppercut. I can see some of you, as soon as I said that, you got a little bit uncomfortable. Because you've been using this excuse that you don't have time, and now you've worked out that you only need to find 2% of your day and you'll be able to do it. Ironically, you don't even need 30 minutes. You could probably, if you're doing nothing, you could probably start exercising in 15, 20 minutes and put your body through a whole bunch of pain in 15 minutes. And now we're only talking 1.5% of your day. Here's the reason why exercise is important. Well, there's a bunch, right? Like if you take men, for example, we lose bone density, and it's probably women too, I just haven't done the research, but we lose bone density at something like 4 to 5% per year every year after 40. Bone density, now it's an important part of your body, and it's really easy to get it back. You just got to do resistance training, and it doesn't have to be heavy. We're not talking here about trying to be the Rock, right? Just any kind of resistance training will bring back the bone density, right? So there's little things like that that will actually just make you sharper, make you better, and make you run for a longer period of time. Obviously, you just need to go and do some general fitness and general exercise, but actually resistance training is phenomenal, and it doesn't have to be going to the gym, right? If you're like, well, I don't have $600 because I want to do ads, great, push-ups, like work it out, like sit-ups, push-ups, like there's a lot you can do, right? Go and find something heavy in the garage and lift it above your head 25 times. I mean, that's a good start. So it doesn't have to be expensive. It's just got to be done. And yet not many people do it, and not many people take it seriously. How you feel is how you act. How you feel is how you act. And I can prove it to you, right? You could literally right now jump out of your seat, jump on the floor, go and do 20 push-ups really quickly, come up, and you'll feel a surge of energy, a surge of adrenaline, and you'll feel like, right, I'm taking back my day, I'm looking after myself, and you'll be more passionate and more focused and more energetic for the next half an hour, just by doing something really simple like that. Because when you decide that you're going to look after you, your whole metaphysics changes. When you start looking after your body, it tricks your mind. Let alone the fact that the Lord put endorphins in there so that when you exercise, they actually do feel good after a while. I mean, it hurts too, but it feels good. When you decide to do exercise, you stand taller, you expect more, you look better, you feel better, and that just immediately plays out in how you act in a day. And so whether you're a morning exerciser or a night exerciser, it doesn't really matter. But if every single day, if you want to maximize your day, you got to look after yourself. And that not only looks after your body, but I'm more interested in your business. Looking after your body will look after your business. I promise you. It makes your mind sharp. You've got more energy in a day, and you can run the race and get the crown, as Scripture says, instead of what most people do is they don't have a body that can last, 50 years of intense business. And so I would say to you that if you want to maximize the year this year, you've got to get deeper and more intense around your exercise. And let me tell you that for me, the flesh is weak. I don't want to exercise. I think I love it when I'm doing it and just afterwards, but the other part of my day, I hate it. Right. And so for me, I've got to find the ways to get it done. And for me, it's having a trainer that meets me in the morning. Right. If I don't have that trainer, if old Jason wasn't there, I probably wouldn't train half as much as I do. Right. But it's because, and the way I work with my trainer is I pay them upfront in advance for a whole bunch of time, because then for me, because I've already put money in, then I want to make it work. Right. If he would let me have a bunch of sessions and then pay, I'd be the worst. I'd be like, stuff him. Right. But because I'm like, no, I need to pay you a bunch of money. And then now I'll turn up because now I've put money on the table. So for me, that's just the way it is for me. Like I've worked it out. I've tried to, do exercise without that accountability. And I will do 20% of what I should be. So there we go. We have 8 points to maximize your day. Ultimately, here's where it's at. Either you drive your day or the day will drive you. That's ultimately what we're talking about. Either you drive the day or the day will drive you. If you drive the day, you'll be intentional and you'll maximize the day. If you let the day drive you, you will achieve 20, 30, 40, maximum 50% of what you could achieve. That's why I say no to a lot of things, right? That's why when I see mistakes, I don't major on them, Because if I've got 30 minutes, I could either fix, major on a typo that went out on an email or something, or I could work out how to run an ad into a new jurisdiction and get them understanding the message in the business. Right? One moves the needle, one doesn't. And so that's how I drive the day. I get up early. I'm not as early as some people. I'm a 5:45 alarm. I'm 9 minutes extra in bed. I do one snooze, and in that time, that 9 minutes, I picture my day. I run through what I've got on. I start talking to the Lord about what I'm grateful for. And then when my feet hit the ground, we're going to do the gym. We're going to eat some breakfast. We're going to get to the office early. We're going to do all our things. We're going to run right through to the end of the day. Then I'm going to spend time with Kimberly. I spend time with the kids. And I'm going to pass out and do it all again tomorrow. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. That's how I'm going to maximize the day. That's how I'm going to maximize the year. That's how I'm going to ensure that I maximize hitting my potential. What a great time of year for us to be having this conversation. It's been a delight hanging out with you. If you would, please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would mean the world to me. If you haven't already done that, just go over there and do that. Otherwise, we're going to be back next month. Hey, listen, tell your friends. Why don't you send it on to 2, 3, 4 other kingdom business people that you know, either spur them on or get them started in business, whatever. We need more and more kingdom entrepreneurs doing business God's way and redeeming culture. It's been great hanging out with you. See you again.